Welcome to the Infowars Nightly News. It is Tuesday, March 10th, 2015, and I'm Leanne McAdoo. Here are tonight's top stories.
Tonight, Hillary says she used private emails out of convenience. Then, a study shows rogue cops endanger more domestics than terrorists. And the ATF drops its ammo regulations. For now, that's next on the Infowars Nightly News.
And I'm here to tell you, 1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms. We will not relinquish them. Do you understand?
Well, Hillary Clinton finally addressed the public today about that email scandal. She dropped a few breadcrumbs and just let everyone know that she thought that it would be more convenient to set up her own homebrew server so that she would just have one device for both personal and business emails. I think most of the civilized world uses one device and is able to handle having business and personal emails. But, she wants to go ahead and set women back by talking about how cumbersome it would be to have to carry around multiple devices because technology is hard, right, Hillary? Now, here she's saying that it's basically more easy for her to set up a private server at her home than just create a .gov email. And this is for her convenience. She is endangering the national security of the country because let's not forget it was Guccifer who first hacked into her email account and revealed that she was using a personal email. This was back in 2013. Now, she said that she has deleted some of her private emails, which she said were things like her yoga routine and planning Chelsea's wedding and things like that. But not to worry. She didn't think that those were important to turn over to the State Department. But again, how do we know that a foreign government wasn't able to access her account? That's the issue with having a private server, setting up a private server. You have someone like Guccifer who's able to hack in. Who knows who else could have been able to hack into these private emails? Total national security threat there. Now, because of all of this, we are learning that a lot of people there in Washington use their own personal email. But do they all also have their own personal server as well? Is that business as usual in Washington? Now, Clinton insisted that she turned over all of her work-related emails to the State Department because you recall she was asked to do that with this whole Benghazi investigation. But she did go on to say that her secret private server is going to remain private.
The president was not aware of the fact that this was a personal email server and that this was the email address that she was using exclusively for all her business. The president was not aware of that until that had been more widely reported. But again, the president's commitment to the guidance that we've offered to employees of the government to use official email for official business.
So that was House Speaker Josh Earnest clearing up the president's remarks the other day when he said that he didn't know that Hillary was using her private email. Of course he knew because they were corresponding via email. But what he didn't know was that she was using her own private server. So clearly there's an issue with that. Now, Rep. Adam Schiff, who is a member of the Benghazi Select Committee, he praised Clinton's remarks today, and he urged the State Department to do what she said in her tweet, which was to release the 55,000 pages that she provided and make them public. And he said, in particular, the department should prioritize those emails that pertain to Benghazi so that they are released as soon as possible. And he went on to say that the release of those emails could help conclude this Benghazi situation. Now, he basically hit the nail on the head without even meaning to. The emails that she provided. She printed out her emails that she thought the State Department needed, and she printed them out and put them in boxes. And then she said, oh, I never even thought about it again. But that's the problem with her setting up her own private server is that she has the control over what's backed up, what's released. If she wants to delete those personal emails, they're just gone. And there is no accountability. Normally, everything would have to be backed up and kept in the records. But here she's managed to make it so that there is no accountability for her. She doesn't have to provide those emails. And not to mention that the 55,000 pages that the State Department is going to have to now go through, comb through, is going to cost taxpayers millions of dollars, and it's going to be a complete waste of time because we don't even know if those are the entirety of the emails. But to quote Hillary Clinton, what difference at this point does it make?
Hillary Rodham Clinton, mystery woman, first lady to be under criminal investigation, inundated by scandals from Little Rock, Arkansas to Washington, D.C. The Clintons squeaked by Kenneth Starr's lengthy investigation into what is now known as the Whitewater scandal, a shady real estate deal the Clintons were never prosecuted for, although their associates were convicted of federal fraud and conspiracy charges. During the first year of Bill Clinton's tenure in the White House, they fired 7 employees with the White House Travel Office in order to reward their friends with jobs. Travelgate erupted, and the Clintons' personal lawyer and deputy White House counsel, a man Hillary regularly abused, supposedly committed suicide over having to testify, knowing full well all of Hillary's devious secret pathways to power. Hillary lied under oath to the Office of Independent Counsel, claiming the last time she spoke with Foster was before Father's Day, when in fact Vince Foster's assistant had seen her with Foster 4 times after that date. Patrick Knowlton, an eyewitness, saw men in red vests fleeing the area before Foster's body was discovered. Fast forward to today. Hillary's private emails were all transmitted on a private server registered to her home in Chappaqua, New York, while she was acting as a Secretary of State that oversaw the overthrow of Gaddafi, the Syrian civil war, the turmoil in Egypt, and the Benghazi scandal. Ironically, President Obama signed a law last November that requires government officials to direct their official correspondence through private email to a government account. Earlier today, Hillary gave a speech about women's rights at the United Nations. Hillary addressed her globalist New World Order cohorts from a room in the United States where press freedom is heavily restricted. She then traipsed out to face the music yet again, addressing her burgeoning career as a professional scandal creator by not initially addressing the subject at hand, instead acting presidential by speaking on the Iranian nuclear issue before launching into an orchestrated series of safe questions and even safer answers.
So even if you have a work-related device with a work-related .gov account, you choose what goes on that. That is the way our system works.
Earlier, her daughter Chelsea had announced that she might run for office, adding more loathing to the failed Clinton dynasty. We can expect Hillary the train wreck to announce that she is running for the highest executive position in the United States? Why in the hell would America vote for this entitled, disingenuous, double-dealing person for president?
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
If she survives this latest debacle, maybe her campaign slogan should be, "Vote for Hillary." You think those were scandals?
What difference at this point does it make?
You ain't seen nothing yet. John Bound for Infowars.com.
When a white cop shot an unarmed black teen in Ferguson, Missouri last summer, the nation watched as that community boiled over with rage. They said it was just sort of a festering anger over the abuses that they had experienced at the hands of their police department, which they said was just filled with rampant racism. Of course, the police department denied that, but recently some emails surfaced, were released that showed, yes, they were in fact trading racist emails back and forth. They were specifically targeting black people, calling them a source of revenue, things like that. Now we hear the Department of Justice is actually thinking about dismantling the Ferguson Police Department because of all of these emails and everything that have come to light. But that was one of the things that I was really concerned about, and I think a lot of people voiced that concern as well. This became an issue of race, which it is very important to highlight that. We see how these things are kind of playing out now, where this racism is coming to the surface, and these corrupt police are actually being held accountable at this point. But it's also kind of taking away the fact that the nation also witnessed the over-militarization of the nation's police force, because you remember all those protesters were met with police dogs at first, and then they were being shot. Even, our own reporter was shot in the side with a less lethal round. And of course, that is what we want people to continue to pay attention to, that there is an over-militarization of the police. The police are being given a license to kill, no accountability as of yet. And, we're asking, who will police the police? Now, a new study was released by the Federal Bureau of Justice Statistics, and it reports that on average, U.S. police killed nearly 1,000 U.S. citizens per year between 2003 and 2009, and again in 2011. Another list that was compiled by the website Killed by Police has 2,000 deaths since May 2013, and they're compiling their own list of every police killing that's mentioned in the American media, because as we also learned, stemming from all of these Ferguson protests, the police aren't even required to report the amount of people that are killed at the hands of the police department. The entire state of Florida doesn't even report a single killing by cop. So there is no official reporting. Now, contrary to what we're being told, policing is not one of the top 10 most dangerous jobs in the U.S., and most police deaths occur accidentally through routine traffic accidents rather than feloniously, as they would have us believe that there are just all of these people out there, these domestic terrorists that are targeting police officers. And not to say that that does not exist, but it is very, very rare. Now, BuzzFeed has an article about just one particular officer in California. He shot 2 people dead in less than 5 months, but he was still on patrol when he responded to a domestic disturbance call where another man was shot. Now, according to police, the man was pointing a rifle at the cop's stomach. So this officer, Sean Kenny, he shoots and kills the man because the cops feared for their life. Now, the DA chose to not really take into account the witnesses who said that this man was on his porch with his hands up. They said the man did not have a rifle at all. Now, months later, rather than a reprimand, this officer earned a promotion to detective. And the article goes on to cite many other instances where the same officer killed plenty of other people in years past. And this is in a city of just over 100,000 people. They have killed twice as many people there as in San Francisco and Oakland combined in 2012. So obviously there is an issue there in that city with that police department. But the DA's office has again and again announced that they've found justified in using deadly force. One after the other, they're finding this, that they're always justified. The same officer has been in trouble. The city had to pay out like a six-figure dollar amount to a suspect that was beaten up by Kenny while he was handcuffed. Another pending suit, he's accused of choking a suspect during a routine traffic stop. So here, this is just one police officer that's getting promoted when all of this stuff is going on. He's still out there patrolling the streets. Again, he has a license to kill, no accountability. Meanwhile, what we're hearing from the Department of Justice and Obama's administration is that we've got to protect the police. And the way we're going to do that, protect them from all these domestic terrorists out there, is by banning ammunition. The latest is that they're wanting to ban a popular form of rifle ammunition because they say that it could potentially pierce through protective armor. Now, the ATF did drop that proposed ammo ban today due to public outcry. So kudos to all of you for that. You definitely let your voice be heard. I do believe that Jakari Jackson is going to have an even more in-depth report on this because he's got his own ideas about what's going on here. But, that's just one instance where it's, we need to protect the police with all of the citizens out there. Now we have another law coming out of Mississippi. It's being proposed to let police enter homes without a warrant and they can shoot your dogs. But it's just one specific breed of dogs right now, pit bulls. So if you have a pit bull, cops can come in your home without a warrant and shoot this dog if they feel threatened. Because if you don't have your dog tied up or in a cage in your own home and a cop busts in the door, then they're wanting to put forth a law that allows the cop to shoot the dog if he feels threatened. And of course, I have a Chihuahua and my Chihuahua is going to charge at anyone who busts in my door. So, of course, the cops are going to shoot these pit bulls. Of course, here we have a Fourth Amendment. Clearly, it doesn't mean anything about, when you're in your home here with enjoying your pet, man's best friend. And so people are going to say, oh, well, I don't have a pit bull and I hate when people let their dogs run loose, so I don't care. This should be allowed. Or I don't have anything to hide, so I don't care if they take people to secret torture prisons in Chicago. I don't care if that's going on because I'm not doing anything wrong. So why should I care about that? Why should I go join the protest? Well, 2 men here have reported that they were at a Chicago deli, just minding their own business at a Chicago deli, when a group of masked men burst in and kidnapped them along with 3 others. And now these masked men turned out to be the police, and they took them all to the secret detention warehouse known as Homan Square. John Vergara, Jose Garcia, and the deli manager and 2 others, they were detained for about 9 hours, denied access to a phone call, a lawyer, or any form of due process. The men report that during their incarceration, police tried to get them to falsely confess to crimes for hours until one of these incarcerated men name-dropped a really good Chicago attorney, and then they were released on the condition that they never speak of what happened at Homan Square. So, of course, they did not. They probably kept quiet to get themselves out of that secret torture prison, but clearly they are now speaking up and coming forward. But the point is, you too can be kidnapped by the Chicago police. They can secretly interrogate you in their secret torture prisons. And, this is all just because you decided to get a cup of coffee at the wrong deli. Now, our own Joe Biggs, he was at that protest there at Homan Square, and he has more.
Joe Biggs here with Infowars.com with another update about Homan Square. Now, Josh Owens and I went up there about a week and a half ago, and we did some reporting about the atrocities that have happened up there, the people being detained, not being able to call a lawyer, basically not given any kind of due process, and then essentially released over maybe an 18-hour period to up to 3 days that we've heard about. Many of the victims that have been taken there have been essentially, they felt like they were kidnapped. These officers come storming in and no-knock raids. They don't wear any kind of uniforms or anything like that, usually all blacked out, no name tags, something like that, unmarked vehicles, and essentially go and grab these people and take them and hold them in this facility. One lady recalls that when she was taken in there, the guy said, "You're going to get a tour of hell." And another few gentlemen said that they were punched in the face while their arms were shackled. One man talking about the point that an officer stepped down on his testicles and started moving his foot around like he was trying to put out a cigarette. So there's a lot of atrocities that are happening at this Homan Square, and there's now a new person who has come forward, and in an article by the Free Thought Project, his name is Jose Gonzalez, and he claims that police threatened to inject him with heroin to get him to talk. Now, this guy said he was sitting around at his home with his family in a no-knock raid style. They came busting through the door. They said they had a warrant. They wouldn't allow Jose to look at this warrant. They pushed his pregnant cousin to the ground, and then they pointed their assault rifles at the kids and grandmother who were in the house. This is the kind of thuggery that happens from time to time with these no-knock raids. So Jose was taken into custody, and no drugs are found at the home whatsoever. They take him to Homan Square, and they keep asking him about all these narcotic deals, all this drug business that's going on in the area, and he says he has no idea about any of that whatsoever. And turns out that the Jose Gonzalez that they were looking for, because that is a pretty common name, was born in the 1960s. This Jose Gonzalez that they grabbed was only 27 years old, so obviously they had the wrong person. He said that the officers definitely wanted it to seem like people were beaten there, and that the red stuff that he had seen on the floor earlier when he was taken in there was in fact blood. So this man was kidnapped, taken hostage, and the officers threatened to inject him with heroin so he would talk and basically fess up to whatever drug charges that they were looking for, and were unable to do so. Now we know that a man, his name was John Hubbard, was allegedly held there, and he died from an accidental heroin overdose. Now, knowing how they treat people there, that seems like that'd be impossible for him to shoot up while he was being held there, because all the people that have been there thus far have been shackled with their hands there. And I doubt these guys aren't going through the pockets and checking. Now that we know that these guys are threatening people to inject them with heroin to get them to fess up to stuff, leads to the fact that maybe this guy was murdered at Homan Square by these undercover agents who are going around kidnapping people on the streets. So there's many questions that don't add up, and it just doesn't make sense that he could have accidentally taken it. Anyone who takes heroin almost instantaneously dies if they have an overdose. I mean, he could have taken them in capsule form and swallowed, but still, once it hit his stomach, that would have all happened instantaneously. And if he were to shoot up, it would have had to happen right there on the scene. So I doubt there's any way that this man would have been able to, in any kind of way, sneak in a needle with heroin in it already, in the syringe, and then essentially while he's sitting there, shoot up. So there's definitely some shady stuff going on. We're gonna have to do a lot more digging, and it leads us to think there's probably going to be a lot more of these sites that come to light that we find out about. So stay tuned for more reports at Infowars.com. I'm Joe Biggs.
Well, joining me now in studio is Rob Dew and Joe Biggs, and we are going to break down the wild and wacky world of science and technology today. Now, our top story, it's a developing effort in the United States to turn the organs of aborted babies into a commodity. Now, Rob, you've got an in-depth report about this coming up here after this segment.
Yeah.
But this is something called the Genetic Literacy Project. They term this xenotransplantation. The process is being developed by the California company Ganogen. They remove the organs from aborted babies, transplant them into a rat or a pig, and then this allows them to grow so then they can be transplanted into a human. And they sell this because they say the biggest question should be, would you accept an organ from a pig or a cow or a baboon just to save your child's life or your own? And they have some pretty compelling statistics for this. They say every year 123,000 Americans require an organ transplant. Fewer than 30,000 will get one. This leaves 21 people to die each and every day waiting for an organ transplant.
So this is when they take the tissue and they grow it on the back of the rat or the pig or whatever, and then they remove that and add it on?
They implant it for future use.
But they get the tissue from aborted babies. So they're literally harvesting dead children to extend life is what they're proposing. They do this.
Right.
And I think you're going to see companies like this get picked up through Google's venture capital firms called Google Ventures, and they have about $400 million a year that they spread between their 280 or some odd companies. And I think what you're going to see is Google Ventures investing in companies like Ganogen to then, what else can you do to extend life? How can we harvest this unused genetic material is what they're referring to it as. They don't call it dead babies.
Right.
And it's disgusting. It's repugnant. And what you're going to create is an incentive for more abortions.
Exactly. And of course, we saw these aborted fetuses being used as a commodity when we learned that they were heating hospitals with aborted babies because they're just like the ultimate life force. So now they're taking their organs and telling all of these women, oh, it's okay, go out and get an abortion. That's your right to do that. And then we'll just do away with the remains. Don't you worry about it.
Are they going to use these post-birth abortions as well in this kind of activity?
I mean, they could use anybody's.
I mean, it's a more developed organ at that point.
Exactly. I think, a 3-year-old, hey, we've got now anybody that gets killed. And this goes back to these organ donor programs that they have. And you talk to any medical doctor and none of them get on the organ donor program. Yeah. It's because they know if they see that on your license, then they have a question they ask themselves. Well, how much could I get for all these organs? What organs are intact? They start thinking of you as a commodity, not as a person they're trying to save. They start going, well, I could save 10 other people with this one person's organs. So maybe I should do that for the greater good because it's always for the greater good. That's why we need to take aborted babies.
Yeah.
It's for the greater good.
Yeah. And it's not like if I wanted to donate a kidney or something and maybe pay off some of my school tuition, I couldn't do that. I could be arrested for trying to, get a little compensation for one of my organs. But meanwhile, a doctor or the hospital, they can get up to $400,000 for a kidney transplant. and the doctor pockets all of that.
And
So
that's
they
scary
get money off.
That's scary to know that you could be in a car wreck and then the paramedics are out there working on you, trying to revive you, to bring you back. And those are the thoughts that are going through their mind.
Just to get you back in time so they can ice down your organs and fly them across the country.
Exactly.
That's chilling.
Yeah, to just keep you alive just for that. But what about stem cell research? Because I'm not against it. Obviously, there's some ethical things there, but a lot of people were against stem cell research because of the ethics. So why would they think that this would be something better, more easily digestible to the people who are very against stem cell research? And now they're going to take aborted fetuses, put their organs in animals?
Leanne, it's recycling, and if we don't recycle, then what are we doing for the earth?
We got to turn that Soylent Green into a new ear.
And it's one less person that's going to be breathing air.
That's right. Are you using
right.
up resources? And we could help people that are already here and, that know how to use the internet. So, it's totally disgusting. One promising thing, though, you sent me this article today about Will.i.am, about printing people, and they're going to be printing organs soon.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. It's like we've got these aborted fetuses, here with the organs or the stem cell research, but this could all be obsolete anyway because Will.i.am, of course, he is a musician. He's also the chief creative officer of a 3D printing company, 3D Systems. So he's here working with this kind of technology, and he's saying, we're already able to print proteins, meaning they can already print meat. So, I don't want to go out and have a 3D meat burger here anytime soon, but he says they're already working on printing organs. You can print a liver. So if you can print a liver or a kidney, then God dang it, you're going to be able to print a whole freaking person, and that's scary. And so here he's saying we need to have some laws and some ethics and really have this discussion. But come on, they're going to be able to 3D print a person, but they're not going to be able to give it a soul.
Well, that's why there will be two classes of people. There will be a master class and a subservient class. And the subservient class will be those 3D printed people that don't have any rights. They don't have a First Amendment, a Second Amendment. They are just indentured servants.
So, but what form of this person is going to be created? Will it start out as a baby and grow, or it will be an actual grown human adult? Now, if that happens, then you've got to worry about the implications of us doing our coups in other countries. We go, we take out some dictator that we don't like, we put in a clone that we've made that's dumbed down, that's able to follow our orders, does what we want to do.
Or implanted chip that controls it.
There's some serious implications
like
with something like
ISIS
this.
soldiers.
Well, it reminds me of that movie with Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson. How they're printing the bodies, and these rich people, these elite, they use these machines to print out bodies, so if they started getting cancer, they could replace their own lungs, they could replace any kind of organs, or they could just take the whole person and continue on their life if they die from something. So
Right.
that's something
really
that
interesting.
Obviously, scares me. I don't.
The Pentagon going there with their whole brain initiative to figure out how to create these brains. How does the brain work? How do humans develop? What is their essence? What is the soul? So they can put it in these cloned.
They disappear people. They clone someone else that they know that they can use, manipulate, and that is something that that gives me goosebumps.
We seem to be catching up with our dystopic nightmare films that people have made throughout the years, and we're starting to catch up to that. What's interesting, the report I have coming up, I kind of end it with an article from the BBC News, which came out in 2006. Human species may split in two, and it talks about from interbreeding and selective breeding and stuff like that. They're actually in 100,000 years, there'll be two different classes of people, the master class and the subservient class. Mm-hmm. But we can end that pretty quickly by printing humans and then maybe even growing humans eventually. And we're growing humans inside pigs, but it's not really a human because we've changed some genetics on it. What are your genetics going to be if part of it is grown through a pig or a rat? Mm-hmm. Are you going to be a human? Once you take that organ that hey, it doesn't cost that much. This organ's only $5,000, and if we grow an organ from scratch, well, it's $30,000. So you're going to have those types of questions to ask, and we are really going into a brave new world with all this new technology.
Right, and they're already messing with our DNA just via the GMOs and things that are not native to our body. They're not something that our body knows how to digest and how to process. So it's turning people into these obese walking tumors. And your children's children are taking on some of that.
Well, do you think those animalistic instincts from these animals are going to pass over into people though as well when that's added on, when that becomes part of the DNA and it starts switching?
I'm sure everything gets passed along. All your genetic makeup, it gets down into the DNA, into the blueprints, and then from there you can just make copy after copy. So it's Pretty interesting what's going on. And
Yeah.
Google, of course, is at the heart of all this. They want their CEO, Bill Maris, says, we'll be able to live till we're 500 in the future. And I mean, I can't see that being maybe 30 years away before they start having the ability to do these types of things. You just, 5 years ago, we didn't even have an iPhone.
Right.
Now we've got the iPhone 6 already.
I mean, look, people like Henry Kissinger are still alive. So there's
Unfortunately,
obviously some sort of serum, something that they're already working on this technology here. But Google is just a search engine. Sound like
Do
a
no evil.
conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
Well, it's all very interesting, but unfortunately, it seems like it is just the beginning. So let's take a look at that report from Rob Dew.
How old are you? In real time?
28.
I'm 105. If you had as much time as I have, what would you do with it?
If I had all that time, I sure as hell wouldn't waste it.
The movie End Time seems to be a perfect metaphor for what's going on in our daily lives now. We don't seem to ever have enough time. Even though with all this great technology and all these advances, we're still always running behind, trying to catch up, never getting enough done.
Come on, help yourselves!
Take the time, it's free.
If you put enough time in the wrong hands, you upset the whole system. Let's hope so.
Well, Google may have a solution for that, as they do for everything else. In fact, there's a Google executive that thinks we can live to be up to 500 years old. Bloomberg Business reported that Google Ventures CEO is in the search for immortality. That's right, Bill Maris has up to $425 million a year that he could spend on venture projects out there, and he's looking for companies that will slow aging, reverse disease, and extend life. Google Ventures has close to $2 billion in assets under management, with stakes in more than 280 startups. They fund things like Google Glass, driverless cars, SpaceX. And Google X is working on a pill that would insert nanoparticles into our bloodstream to detect disease and cancer mutations. But how will we pay for this immortality, and what will be the cost to you and I? Will it be through xenotransplantation, where they take actual organs from aborted babies and grow them inside rats and other animals and then implant them into you? Do you want to be responsible for the death of another human being so you could live longer? Well, there's a biotech company in Redwood City, California, which is doing just that. The California company Ganogen removes the organs from aborted babies, transplants them into a rat or pig, and allows them to grow so they can be transplanted into a human. Work has initially been done on kidneys. WorldNet Daily seems to be one of the only publications talking about this. They have a couple articles. One, scientists grow kidneys of aborted babies in animals, an aborted baby organ program called Franken Science. This is one way we're turning our children into commodities, and they're not even being born yet. Now, after they're born, we have the CPS that goes around and traffics children. In fact, Los Angeles Department of Children and Family Services is under state investigation. The LA Department of Children and Family Services has been under fire in recent years with official commissions investigating high-profile deaths of children who've come in contact with the foster care system. Investigators are looking into allegations that officials in Los Angeles DCFS office engaged in a series of baby trafficking activities and cover-up extending back 15 years involving possibly large numbers of babies. And these kids had a high price tag. They estimate that 21,000 kids that went through this system, they were getting $25,000 apiece for them, and taking them out of the system and transferring them to families with these large fees. And so the supervisors are getting kickbacks, the employees are getting kickbacks, so what they need is more kids. So they go after your family. Oh, you don't want vaccines for your kids? Maybe we're going to call CPS. Oh, you don't want to treat your kid for eczema using the steroid cream like the CPS recommends? Well, we're going to take your kids. And that's what happened to a family in Washington State recently. They had a home birth of twins, and they didn't want to bring them to the doctor because they felt their kid's immune system hasn't been developed yet. Well, due to pressure from their family, they called the paramedics to come check on their kids. The paramedics said the kids are fine, but they recommend they bring them to a doctor. And they said, no, we're going to wait till their immune systems get better. Well, the next day, CPS shows up and goes, hey, your kid has eczema. We recommend this steroid cream. And they go, well, we're treating it with natural antibiotics and creams like coconut oil. And they said, no, if you're not using the steroid cream, we're going to take your kids. So they took their kids for a while. Then they got them back, but now they're under investigation. They're under the heel of the CPS. And if they don't march and cross every T and dot every I, they're going to come and take their kids. And because of that oppression, they decided to flee the state. Well, then they got busted down in California. And before being arrested, the mother, Carrie Ringo, actually told a cameraman, send a message to America for me. Children don't belong to the government belongs to the people. When our children become commodities, it lessens their value. You can't put a value on human life. You really can't. Although they're trying to do that with this healthcare system where they're going to have to budget healthcare for you and we may have to create death panels. They're trying to put a price tag on human life. They're trying to say some lives aren't worth as much as others. And pretty soon, hey, like will.i.am said in Rolling Stone, eventually 3D printing will print people. In fact, here's his quote. You can print in freaking protein. You can make freaking meat. You can print leather. You can print a liver. So if you can print a liver or a kidney, god dang it, you're going to be able to print a whole freaking person, and that's scary. Yeah, that is scary. We may split into that human species, that subservient class and that master class a lot earlier than H.G. Wells ever predicted. So try to remember that when you see headlines like Google exec says we can live to be 500 or forever or we're going to merge with machines. Look at the human cost now and ask yourself, is it worth it? This has been Rob Dew for Infowars.com and Infowars Nightly News.
Well, that's it for the show tonight. Thank you for joining us. If you are watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, and then you can head over to prisonplanet.tv. Your subscription there will allow you to get instant access to over 18 years worth of content. You're not going to find that on YouTube. And of course, you can share your username and password with up to 20 people at the same time. And of course, you help us to run this operation, and we certainly appreciate it. So that's it for the show tonight. We will see you here tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central.
Dave, my mind is going. I can feel it.